Let me pull up this next story. We have this tweet from Talk Radio 77 WABC. Breaking news. Palm Beach authorities on alert about armed protesters expected at Mar-a-Lago. And I love the comments. People are saying things like, it's going to be a bunch of guys in polo shirts, khaki shorts, and sunglasses.
You know it.
With short trim hair. And that's right, Fed boys. So I don't know if there's any developments on this or how much this story is legit. But we did see a bunch of people out in front of Mar-a-Lago protesting and cheering for Trump. And so when I see a story like this, for one, Fed boys, that's basically what everybody is saying, that they're going to come out and it's going to, what would you call it, I guess, a false flag?
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, the Feds are going to come out pretending to be Trump supporters or something.
And then get rowdy.
Yeah.
It's not just that. They're going to lure groups who aren't part of the Fed to participate, but then maybe there's the hanging threat that the Feds are going to incite violence and then blame it on the ordinary people they lured there.
Exactly.
That's what happened at January 6th, right?
Yeah.
Well,
we don't unverified.
We don't know that.
There is suppositions like with Ray Epps that he had been a plant. No one really. I don't even know if that's ever been confirmed. Did he used to work for the FBI or anything?
I don't know or care about to speculate on Ray Epps because of what they're trying to do to manipulate that story. My point on this is simple. Let's approach it from, hey, there's a guy on camera inciting violence. You should arrest him.
There you go.
Yeah. That's the target, not the other
instead,
people.
What they're doing is they're using the fact that people have claimed conspiracy theory to discredit the entirety of the Ray Epps scandal.
But Epps was yelling, like, let's go to the Capitol stuff.
He's on video.
Very blatant.
Let me tell you about this tactic used by leftists for a long time. What they do is they'll get a handful of people. They will organize a peaceful protest so they can get mass. And they'll say, everybody come down and march and raise your fist. They will coordinate different groups with their strategy. They'll say some people's job is to obstruct. So they'll convince people like, hey, stand here. The people don't know what they're doing.
Right.
When they go for a peaceful protest, they have no idea the plan of the organizers.
The pawn has no idea that the knight is about to move next.
And so what they'll do is they have aggressors, basically, that will mix in the crowd and incite the violence because they want to do two things. They need the cover of a mass group to be able to engage in violence and get away. And they also want videos of these regular people being beaten by cops. So they will start the fight. The regular person will get hit. They will then go to that regular person and say, why were the cops hitting you? What? Oh, you got to join us, man. That's how they recruit. That's the plan.
That's how the FBI works to perpetuate its own existence. They create the reasons that they supposedly exist.
Right. Look at the Whitmer thing.
Yeah. Great example.
Yeah. What was it like? They were all informants.
Yeah, it was like one guy that wasn't. The poor guy just got brought in. And that's what they do. They'll target the lonely people that are isolated from community, and they'll lead them to feel like they're part of some movement. And it's all these feds that are inviting them into creating a problem that requires them to be the solution. And there are a lot of people that do this in the corporate world too. I mean, George Soros gets accused of this often, right? Putting money toward destruction so that he can come in and profit off the cleanup. There's a lot there that we've seen this time and time again. Part of the reason I'm so frustrated with the FBI and their dealings is that it's not just what they're doing, like this Trump scenario, like this guy with his phone. It's also what they're not doing. So in the process of spending all of their time sending all these agents to Trump's home, they're ignoring the fact that the current president's son, we have him on video and photo evidence instances where the guy is dealing in incredibly illegal activity and they're silent. Or Larry Nassar, silent.
What's the Larry Nassar thing?
The gymnastics, USA Gymnastics.
I don't know about this. Tell me about it.
Yeah, crazy.
He's abusing the girls?
Yeah. And the FBI knew about it.
Yeah, they knew.
They knew about Epstein.
Yeah, they knew about Epstein. I mean, the examples are endless, and you're absolutely right. Oftentimes, they need to boost their budget. They need to create problems so that they can exemplify why they're needed as a solution.
Another example of that, I think, is industrial, agricultural, pharmaceutical, like this thing where they'll feed people bread that's sprayed with glyphosate, the wheat, as a desiccant to dry it out before harvest. That makes people just like grotesquely ill, and then they create pills that will, treat it. And then so they're not only creating the glyphosate or these, I don't know if it's all the same people, but they're creating the chemicals that to put on the food that make the people sick. Then they make the medicines to it's self-replicating.
Then the medicines make people sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times they do. A lot of times the treatments make people more sick than the diseases themselves. It's a terrible reality of using like experimental medicine on a population. It's devastating.
Well, a perfect example recently is, and I'm not insinuating anything, YouTube, but Pfizer is upping their intentionality with heart issue medicine. So issues like myocarditis, pushing prescriptions that solve that issue. You make your conclusions as to why, but yes, it's this exact thing. Pfizer and these big pharmaceutical companies, they operate by the same playbook.
Wasn't there like a document recently? I saw some story where they basically said we should reconsider curing diseases. Did you saw that?
That sounds like a type of headline you could expect.
Oh, I hope you got that.
Can you Google that?
I'll look it up. I'll look it up right now.
I saw that on Twitter. They were like, we should reconsider. I can't remember where I saw it. It may actually be an old story. Like reconsider.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was something about like.
Yeah.
Is it a story or just an opinion piece?
No, I think I saw it was a document from. I could be wrong. That's why I'm saying fact check it because I just saw it on social media.
It was something like
from
a drug company, and they were like, it's not really monetarily wise to cure diseases. We just need to sell these pills. Let me look it up.
I'm seeing from popsci.com, we're closer to curing all diseases than we think. They're like curing blindness. I mean, if we can actually heal the blind and let the blind see again.
A lot of people think they have the cure to cancer and are hiding it from everyone. So they have to pay for the treatment.
The truth is that cancer comes from so many different sources that there's not like a single cure for cancer. So I understand the thinking because the cost of fixing cancer is extremely lucrative. But did you find it?
I mean, I found a story.
Oh, snap.
From MedPage Today.
What?
Curing patients is bad for business.
Well, yes.
Apparently, they say an article by Take Him on CNBC, Goldman Sachs issued a report, so it's not a drug company, that suggested that drug developers might want to think twice about making drugs that were too effective. What do you say? The potential to deliver one-shot cures is one of the most attractive aspects of gene therapy, genetically engineered cell therapy and gene editing. However, such treatments offer a very different outlook with regard to recurring revenue versus chronic therapies. While the proposition carries tremendous value for patients and society, it could represent a challenge for genome medicine developers looking for sustained cash flow.
Oh, medicine developers looking for cash flow. That's so gross.
Isn't the first lipo bever still on and has been on for like 100 years in like a firehouse in New York or something like that?
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, can you pull that up?
About that.
The argument, the idea was that they needed planned obsolescence. Otherwise, you'd sell a light bulb and then you'd never sell another one.
It was too effective.
Yeah.
Too effective.
Well, yeah, I found the article from CNBC that says Goldman Sachs asks in a biotech research report, is curing patients a sustainable business model? And I guess it kind of makes sense that it's not, which makes us then ask why.
Yeah, 2018, we have it right here, CNBC.
Yeah, it's from a few years ago.
Just use gene therapy that wears off and you need to boost it.
Yeah, you need more boosters, baby.
Or how about a two-stage gene therapy? The first one cures it. The second one starts it back up.
Yeah, just a perpetual cycle.
Or a subscription service.
Yeah.
How about wait? How about it cures the disease, but also gives you a different disease that requires paying a subscription?
Like a one-for-one program.
Yeah,
you get
that's great.
Yeah,
so
swap.
Like violence. If violence is the disease, then the military-industrial complex is the treatment. It's not a cure. It's a treatment, because if they cure the violence, then they're no longer necessary, and then we won't have any reason to fund a military. But then that's because they're afraid that violence will strike again, that it'll never truly be gone. And they're just saying with illness will never truly be gone. So if we stop making medicine, we won't be prepared when a big one comes, when an asteroid or a comet lands that has a bacterium on it that causes some new disease that Pfizer wasn't ready for. I understand that living in fear like that. It comes to a point where you got to not try and profit off of the pain and suffering of humans.
So, I was talking about this earlier. And the other day, there's a point in history when you look at major historical moments, like Spanish Civil War or the Russian Revolution or Nazi Germany, when people left, they moved to other countries and survived. And you'd always read and ask them, like, why did your family flee? What made them realize? And, Nazi Germany obviously being the obvious one because of how bad things got. They say things like the demonization of these groups, and we were like, they're targeting us. But then the other question is, why did people stay? And a lot of people stayed thinking it could never happen, that it wouldn't get worse. And so I was thinking about, like, Kristallnacht, right? You're familiar?
Yeah. The broken glass.
Yeah.
Tell me an elevator pitch. I'm familiar, but in case people don't know.
people went around smashing up Jewish businesses.
It was like in one night in Germany, Nazi Germany.
I don't know the full historical details other than the general idea.
It was in one night.
Yeah.
Night of broken glass.
It was a pattern that went on for weeks, but it was one specific night, Kristallnacht, Night of the Broken Glass, that was like lived in infamy because it was this horrible night that the country, it was sort of like a Rubicon moment where it's like, you guys just crossed a major line that's going to be impossible to come back from. And then it just de-escalated into everything that Nazi Germany became.
It escalated into everything.
Yeah, I should say.
The
country de-escalated.
Yeah.
That's a better way to word it.
So, I've read about people who said, like, when that happened, they were like, we have to get out of here. And then there are a lot of people who didn't. And it's like, when something like that happens, why didn't you get out?
Yeah.
They weren't activated socially, that's for sure. Those people had no idea what was going on.
No, I think it's because we have the gift of hindsight.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. AOC comes out and fabricates a story about January 6th. That someone knocked on her door and said, "Where is she? Where is she?" And she's like, "I'm hiding in the bathroom." And I thought, this is it. I'm going to die or whatever she said. I don't know. That story happened an hour before anyone had breached the Capitol. A full hour. She had no idea. However, in hindsight, she knows most people don't know the details of the day. All they know is people stormed the Capitol. So if she tells this story, it sounds like this thing happened. When we read history and we read about Kristallnacht and things like that, we think, well, how could they not have seen it coming?
Yeah.
Only because we know what did happen. Today, I don't mean to imply that what's happening now is identical to what's happened in Nazi Germany or anything like that. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. There are similarities. Take a look at anything that's happened in the past couple of years and ask yourself why you haven't fled. Because you don't know what lies ahead. And so for us to look back on history and know what the end result was, we'd say, clearly at that point I'd get out. Would you? Would you really? Any of you? Maybe after, I don't know, billions of dollars in damage when a Marxist political faction ransacked this country from the biggest cities to the smallest town. When we have quotes from a guy who said there was fighting in his building and he called the police in New York and they said, "Sir, the city is under attack. What would you have us do?" When we saw riots in almost every major city, $2 billion was the insurance cap on the damage, 30 plus dead, and everyone says, it's just a riot. Maybe it will become something worse. And then I wonder if in 50 years people will look back at the Summer of Love and say, why didn't they get out when that happened? When you had Black Lives Matter, an identitarian Marxist organization, smashing things up, organizing destruction. They thought everything was fine. Well, I'll tell you this. A lot of people have already fled to Mexico. We read that story. We thought it was funny.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to El Salvador and Costa Rica.
Max Kaiser prominently and Stacey Herbert have gone to El Salvador because they're huge maximalists for Bitcoin, and they've adopted Bitcoin as a national currency in El Salvador. El Salvador. El Salvador.
Mm-hmm. El Salvador.
And like Einstein fled the Nazis. Einstein fled in like what?
And early.
36, 33 or so,
early.
35. Yeah, way early.
So that's just a question I have. I mean, so we're now at the point where the Department of Justice, under one political faction, has just raided the home of the front runner of the rival political faction. Several members of his administration have been arrested. They have now seized the phone of an active member of Congress. Like, at what point are you like, hey, we're kind of in the thick of things where usually in history we learn about the people who survived or the ones who fled? I will say, many people don't flee because they're like, this is my country and I will not let it collapse.
That's me, man. I can't, we live in California. And so it's
Yikes.
California is where everyone else will be in 10 years. I mean, you're from New York, same deal. Any of these big blue kind of metropolitan progressive authoritarian strongholds. The California lifestyle at this point is so blatantly not in our favor that it's like, if you're going to stay, it's because you have to feel a special sort of conviction to stay. So I don't blame anyone that's left to Texas, that goes to a red state and sets up shop there. Good for you. It makes sense. For us, though, it's like, man, there's something holding me here that I can't leave. And in the same way in the United States, it's like it's going to get worse before it gets better. This is our country. I can't leave.
No matter where you flee, you run into more problems anywhere you go.
Yeah, geez, you see the way they handle people in New Zealand, the way they handle lockdowns, and Australia kicking people's doors in and
Mexico and El Salvador have their own problems that I don't think we want to deal with.
You know, when we're talking about all this
Mexico's doing pretty well.
I've been thinking a lot about fleeing and like, where would I go? What would I do? But I think what's happening is the United States is freaking awesome. And the state's control is really an awesome part of why. But people are fleeing, but they're fleeing states.
Yes.
That's what you see the people, they got out early. They got out last year. They got out when COVID lockdowns.
It's a bad sign if people are losing their allegiance to their state and their local area, though.
I want to point
definitely an indication.
Germany, if that's an example, is what, roughly the size of Texas or comparable?
Smaller.
A little smaller than that?
I think.
We're a big country.
Yeah.
When
huge.
the summer of love happened, we did get out. We left the South Jersey suburbs and came to West Virginia, Western Maryland and West Virginia.
Right.
So I literally was like, I'm getting out of this place.
Right. So
this is crazy.
There's a couple of reasons why people wouldn't leave. First of all, because they don't have the money to do so. Like right now, I don't have the funds to pack up and move to El Salvador. I have no idea where I would work or what I would do if I were to do that. And the other reason that people would not leave the U.S. and ostensibly some of their states is that there is nowhere else to go. And I know that like Steve Hilton stays in California because he thinks that maybe he can save it. And he has people who agree with him. I have heard that much of California is not insane, crazy LA people.
We're not.
Right. They're all Orange County. They're
There are
like
a few of us.
sane. Right.
Yeah.
There's some actual conservatives over in California because there are a lot of people there. There are a lot of reasons to stay in the U.S. And I feel like this is just something we're going to have to go through.
Yep.
I don't know what else to say.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.